welcome back to another episode of the Michigan Prep Frenzy podcast. I'm Brayden at MI Game Day,
And I'm Tyler at Michigan Prep Frenzy.
and today we are going to be jumping into our rankings reactions as well as our previews for Week 8, including our ranked matchups and any other notable games we have across the state. With that, we're going to dip right in and start with our top 10. We have a few teams here climbing up the ranks, starting with Cass Tech. They're now up 4 spots to number 2.
Yeah, that one feels like a correction to me after last week. I think we got quite a few comments underneath the posts about what the heck Cass Tech did to drop that as far as they did. So I think them coming back up to number 2 is kind of just correction on where they should have been the whole time.
Yeah, it definitely felt like just a return to the norm. A team that really never should have fallen out of that top 3 range. Good to see that the model that was being used there has been corrected and seeing some more normalcy.
Yeah, it's tough to grade some of those wins. They're not playing elite competition week in and week out. And it gives them it doesn't really give them the benefit of the doubt to not, beat these teams by 90. So,
Yeah. Moving on, we have Harper Woods. They're up 6 spots to number 3. New team, first time in the top 5. This is actually the team that I had ranked number 1 in my poll.
yeah, and honestly, I don't hate it. I mean, nobody has a better resume right now. Nobody has more playoff points in any division than Harper Woods, which is just insane to think about. They have been the elite of the elite, and they have been beating some of the best teams we have. I mean, you think of Clarkson and Saline as both D1 favorites to at least make a deep playoff run, and they handled both of them.
Yeah. Those are really good teams. They're both top 10 teams, and handling both of them in one score games. But if you were paying attention to the games, if you were watching any of it, it seemed pretty clear that Harper Woods had just total game control in both of those, and just let the other team hang around, because there's only so much you could do when you play a team as talented as a Saline or Clarkston.
Yeah, it's tough to bury one of those teams. I mean, you're always going to have to contend with them. But they match up so well. Their talent is as elite as anyone in this state. So it's not shocking to see them beat a Saline, but it's still kind of jarring when you see it. Like, man, they really did it. So, yeah, rightful to move up to at least number 3. And yeah, there's a case to be made that they're the best team in the state right now.
Yeah, just very casually taking down 2 of the top Division 1 teams as a D4 team. For me, that spoke volumes.
Yeah, 1000%. That is going to be a tough team to beat in D4.
Up next, we've got Brayden and Howell. These 2 squads are both up 5 spots to number 24 and number 25, respectively.
Yeah, and that's going to be a showdown this week. They match up against each other. Bit of rivals themselves. And it's going to be kind of interesting to see who gets the upper hand, and see who gets to match up with Belleville. We presume will be the other side of that. So I think both of these teams are going to play well in that game. I will be very curious to see who gets that crossover game in the KLAA.
Yeah, this right here, kind of a de facto conference semifinal for these 2. Coming in here with, like you said, the winner getting that cross-division game against whoever the number 1 is on that other side, presumably Belleville. Got Mount Pleasant. They're up 6 spots now to number 33. And this is another one that, similar to Cass Tech, felt like it was a bit of a correction. Not sure why they dropped last week, but we did see them plummet. I believe it was 6 spots last week. And now we see them moving back up to about where they should be.
Yeah, I think this is still definitely a top 50 team. Right now we have them at 33. I wouldn't be shocked to see them continue to sneak a little bit higher over the next couple weeks. Really well-rounded team, it seems like. So, yeah, I'm not shocked to see them move up the rankings.
Next, we've got Groves. They're now up 6 spots to number 37.
Yeah, that's a team that we think of as really really good. Almost on a down year this year. They've kind of been up and down, but still hanging around in that top 40. I still think this is a dangerous team come playoff time, not to be taken lightly at all.
No, they're definitely a team that will be in contention throughout the postseason, I think.
Absolutely.
Next, we've got Midland Dow. They're now up 6 spots to number 40. And Midland Dow has so far been a darling of my metrics.
Yeah, I'm not super surprised. It seems like they have done a really good job, especially offensively, putting up numbers in bunches. And I know like Wind Eagle, their quarterback, has we watched him in the offseason at a 7-on-7. Dude can just command an offense. So not surprised to see them kind of be able to push the ball up and down the field.
Yeah, they're really, really fun offense to watch. Like you said, Wind Eagle, just orchestrating that with uh, relative ease, moves the ball very well. And they're actually one of the previously mentioned Mount Pleasant's top wins there. And really saw them kind of slingshot into at least our attention.
Yeah, no, this seems like a legit team. Yeah, good win for Mount Pleasant. Nice little resume builder. I think Dow is still going to be tough to contend with in the postseason.
Yeah, always are. Moving on, we have Ludington now up 5 spots, previously number 50, now sitting at 45.
Yeah, good for Ludington. I did not see this coming at the beginning of the season. I did not think this team would be one that cracked our top 50.
Yeah,
But they just keep, laying it to people. Just a really good team. They actually kind of got almost their biggest challenge um, this week with Whitehall. That game was, I believe, tied in the second quarter, and then Ludington just ran the score up immediately. So just a tough team to hang with, it seems like. Yeah, we'll see what they can do in that D4 that we've talked about ad nauseum now, just absolutely loaded.
yeah, this D4 is going to be a lot of fun. You and I talked today just discussing that, these are uh, D4 and D2, really a couple of divisions that are going to draw a lot of attention, at least from us, as we get into the postseason. Because looking at the list of the top contenders, it's such a long and deep list that we are going to have a hard time missing out on any of these teams.
Yeah, now there's going to be a ton of really fun matchups, probably early and often in the playoffs. So definitely excited for that. And yeah, both D2 and D4. Um, I really don't know that there's a bad division this year. It seems like a lot of them are pretty top heavy. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, should be a good group there. Moving on now, we've got some of our biggest fallers in the rankings, starting with Orchard Lake St. Mary. Uh, they're not a huge drop here, but they're a top five team that we saw dip down from number 3 down to number 4. And this pretty clearly just seemed like a matter of Cass Tech and Harper Woods both jumping them. And Orchard Lake St. Mary's actually sticking ahead of the next one on our list, Hudsonville, who is also surprisingly down 1 spot to number 5.
Yeah, yeah, it seems like they kind of got, the bad end of getting leapfrogged there. I still don't think Hudsonville's too worried about it. I think they're pretty confident in what they've got. This team has showed that they can blow some teams out. They've showed that they can, pull out a grinder like they had to last week against East Kentwood. They can win in a variety of ways. So, yeah, temporary fall here down to number 5. Still a top 5 team in the state. Still a, runner up from last season. So, I think they are still going to be fine.
Yeah, they're uh, down a spot, but they're still number 4. They are still our top ranked team in D2. Orchard Lake St. Mary is going to be fine. Hudsonville, like you said, runner up. They are cruising right along. They have that really nice win over East Kentwood that we were lucky to be there for. They, you know, have some questions on defense. Obviously, East Kentwood, one of the top offenses in the state, and nobody is really going to be able to slow them down that much. But this Hudsonville team, the first time we're really seeing them against stiffer competition, does bring a little bit of concern on that side. At the very least, if this team isn't going to make a run, we can probably see why.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's especially getting into the you know postseason where you want some elite defensive play. Uh, I've been kind of waiting for the weather to turn and get crappy. I keep kind of predicting, like, man, if when the weather turns, it'll you'll want your defense and a run game, but I mean, it's still beautiful outside right now. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of just keep doing what they're doing, playing that spread style, and getting into track meets with team, or if they're gonna have to slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, they are fully capable of winning those track meets as we've seen, but uh, going to be interesting if they start running into, some more sturdy defenses that, forces them to shore it up on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Another team that kind of fell, went down 6 spots to number 8 was Celine. Um, and I think this one might actually be a little bit of an overcorrection. I still think that Celine is really good. And, the pollsters probably should have learned their lesson the first time. We punished Clarkston for their loss, and it turns out that that's not a bad one at all. I
Yeah.
think I think Celine's kind of getting that same treatment. I think they're getting punished, but I think that that was just a really, really good team they matched up against.
Yeah, there's clearly not a whole lot you can do if you're coming up against that team. They're just a, a monster to come up against for really anybody in the state, as we've seen.
Yeah, yeah, no, they're really good.
All right, moving on. We've got Grosse Pointe South. These guys are down 6 to number 31.
Yeah, and this is a team that we, kind of saw some cracks in the armor. They kind of let Roseville hang around with them a couple weeks ago, but this week they lost to St. Clair Shores Lakeview. Um, Kind of a weird one to drop, especially in the MAC. I would not have guessed that that was the team that would get them. This is a team that beat Romeo, beat Utica, was able to, eventually pull out kind of a good win against Roseville. So definitely not a team that I expected to drop this one of all games, but yeah, rightfully so. They kind of got punished for that one.
Yeah, not a loss that we were really expecting. Not one we had our eye out for, at least. Um, Not surprising to see them drop, but still a very solid squad and one that I don't know about you. I don't have a whole lot of concern on my end for them.
No, not really. I think they're still pretty solid. That's another one of those teams that I think is kind of in that second tier in their division. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of regroup. This is kind of a weird loss to have late. We'll see if they can regroup and kind of start another winning streak as they head into the postseason.
Yeah. Uh, Moving on to our next team, we have Utica Eisenhower now down 5 spots to number 39.
Yeah, I mean they struggled and eventually lost a game to Dakota. This is not a Dakota team that we are used to seeing. And you and I have kind of talked about it quite a bit that we're not super incredibly impressed with them. We don't think super highly of them. So, yeah, weird loss. It just seems like Dakota's just able to squeak out these low scoring, grinded out defensive games.
Yeah. Ike, little disappointed in their showing their Dakota. Clearly a very good defense. Really just dominant on that side of the ball. But for Ike, if they're hoping to contend this season, uh, you really can't be putting up 7 points in a game, especially this late in the season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can regroup because I think this is a team that could win some games in the postseason. But man, that was a an odd one.
Yeah. Next, we've got Granville. They are one of the biggest drops we've seen this season, actually, down 21 spots to number 43. And I don't know about you, I'm actually pretty surprised to see them still ranked at all.
Yeah, I took him right out of my poll. Um, I gave him a few weeks of grace.
Hmm.
I kind of wanted to see it. I wanted to see if they could, have that next man up mentality and kind of have a guy step up and, help them out at least a little bit. And it just doesn't seem like it. They, kind of get their butts kicked a couple weeks ago. They struggle against Jennison, and now they, lose pretty handily to Grand Haven. So, yeah, definitely not surprised to see them take a huge dip like that.
Yeah, no disrespect to Grand Haven. Really good win for them, as we talked on the last episode. Their first win since I believe it was 2013. Uh,
Yeah.
but this just really is not the same Granville team that we saw starting out the season. They're just really struggling in on both sides of the ball. As you and I have talked outside of the show, this defense and the effort that we're seeing there is not what we were seeing at the beginning of the year, especially when they were taking on some of these top level teams, like in that game against Cass Tech. Uh, the defense just feels like they've kind of run out of steam, and you know when you aren't able to focus on game control with an elite running attack, it's not a huge surprise to see that start to slide.
Yeah.
The surprise was that they couldn't turn out of the skid.
Yeah, yeah. I thought by now they would have been able to, implement something and at least stop the bleeding a little bit, but it seems like they're just full blown on the struggle bus right now.
Yep. Moving on to some of our, well, not some, but our one newcomer. We have Brother Rice rejoining the top 50. They are in now at number 49. And in exchange, we have seen De La Salle drop out. In this one, not too shocking. Team that, for all the talent that they have, for as competitive as they've been in some of these losses, they're just not looking like a top level team.
No, and you trade one Catholic League team, team for another with Brother Rice and De La Salle. Um, I think Brother Rice is still solid. I think they're a year away from being really, really good with this, kind of young group that they're kind of rebuilding there. Um, but yeah, it's kind of a shame to see De La Salle kind of drop the way that they have. I think I think they're really well coached. Coach Roan, obviously is one of the best coaches we have in the state. So maybe just a rough patch here. Maybe they'll kind of turn it around next year. But yeah, as for this year, they have definitely not been the same team.
Yeah. And just sitting outside of our top 50, we have Gaylord and Monroe Jefferson. These are two teams that are remaining unranked, but they have newly joined the teams receiving votes, clearly getting some respect, at least from some of our pollsters, and getting a little bit of that spotlight on them.
Yeah, it's funny because like Monroe Jefferson just quietly keeps just winning, and it was not a team that I even realized was unbeaten until just a couple weeks ago. I'm like, man, I don't think they've dropped a game yet. Um, and as for Gaylord, not surprising at all. They beat out Escanaba, um, win their conference title. So really good job by them to kind of, have the season they were hoping for last year. So yeah, two really good teams. Um, Two teams that I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen really grace anyone's polls yet was Ann Arbor Father Gabriel Richard and Macomb Lutheran North, two teams that actually square off this
Yeah.
week to find out who goes to the Prep Bowl next week. So that's going to be a huge unbeaten matchup.
Yeah, that is pretty surprising. These are a couple of very solid squads, obviously good enough to make that prep bowl game with the Catholic High School League. Uh,
Yeah.
one of them is going to make it, and I would expect that whoever comes out of this gets at least some votes if they don't manage to actually sneak their way into our top 50.
Yeah, I think that one of them will definitely have my vote by the end of the week.
All right, moving on from our rankings recaps, we're going to jump into our game previews, starting with our game of the week.
Yeah, we're gonna head over to Grand Blanc as they host Davison. I think this is gonna be, I think you can argue this is the best game in the state. You got some other, pretty decent ones with like Cass Tech King, but we've already seen that one this year. Brighton Howell, another really good one, but for all intents and purposes, I think this is the best one. Jackson Dosh versus Jake Morrow. I think these are two guys that they're very familiar with each other. They're very familiar with each other's teams. Two teams that really don't care for each other very much. So yeah, I think this is going to be really fun. They're jockeying for position in the district. They are playing for a conference title. Like every stake that you're looking for, it's in this game. These two guys that are playing for Mr. Football in the state of Michigan. Like I don't know what else you need out of this game. This is going to be a really, really good game.
Yeah, two QBs that you and I have uh, been pretty vocal about our excitement for them. They're both very solid, two of the best in the state. Grand Blanc, a team that you and I have been talking about since early in the summer as
Yeah.
a team that we felt we needed to go and see. They're just too talented, and if they were going to be anything like our preseason expectations, there was no way we were going to be able to miss out on them. And hosting Davison feels like the perfect opportunity to see them really go and show what that ceiling is for that squad.
Yeah, you're not going to find a game, I mean, that's going to be having brighter lights than this and higher stakes than this in your, regular season. So, yeah, I'm really excited. I expect the crowd to be pretty amped up. I think everybody's going to be pretty amped up for this one. So, yeah, I am looking forward to it.
Should be a fun one. Moving on to the next of our ranked matchups, we have number 2 Cass Tech taking on number 14 Detroit MLK. This one here is for the Detroit Public School League Championship.
Yeah, Cass Tech won this one just a few weeks ago, 27-22. There was some bad blood in that one. If you remember back, they didn't shake hands at the coin toss, and it kind of just got chippy on from there. And I believe this game ended up having to be finished at a different time the next day. Like these are two teams that, as well, do not care for each other. And it does not matter what the records are or what you think of, the last game. They're sure Cass Tech won it, but Kings within a score there could very easily go the other way.
Yeah, hate to rely on the old adage, but hard to beat the same team twice. Here's hoping that at the very least the game gets finished up the same day it starts. These two definitely not strangers to each other, and definitely not strangers to seeing some non-football extracurriculars taking place on and around the field.
Yeah. I hope it's a clean game for the most part. I don't mind chippy though, and I don't mind the not shaking hands and kind of setting a tone there. So um, these are two really talented teams. I mean, up and down the roster, there's D1 and D2 talent, high D1 talent. Like this is as high level of a game as you'll find in the state of Michigan. It always is. So yeah, really looking forward to this one. I'm excited to see who can kind of make the adjustment. I mean, now that they've seen each other this year, who makes the right adjustment and is able to kind of take control of this one?
Yeah. Next, we've got number 11 East Kentwood versus number 43 Granville. This still a big game. East Kentwood has to rebound after just a heartbreaking loss, and watching the conference title, slip through their fingertips. And on the other side, Granville trying to just play for pride at this point. You might not be looking at any sort of conference title or really a lot of hopes heading into the postseason. But this right here is one of the top teams in your conference, and you have a chance to prove that you are more than one player. You are a team. You've got that heartbeat still, and you are not going to just roll over when the going gets tough.
Yeah, this team has to be as hungry as they come. I mean, Greenville's got to be wanting to get back in the win column. You know, they struggled last week and dropped the game before that. They were kind of struggling here and there. So yeah, I think this is a big one. And Granville, they're still in the playoff picture. Um, every game counts for these guys, so to be able to at least get one more in would be great. But there's a very good chance per Goose Poops playoff wizard. It looks like these teams they're going to have to beat one of these two teams, East Kentwood or Hudsonville. Um, Otherwise, they're going to be relying on some other people to help them out to get them in, and you do not want to be in that position sweating it out to see if someone lets you in.
Yeah, not where you necessarily want to be. Um, Two must-win games against two of arguably the top teams, not just in your conference, but two of the top teams in the state.
Yeah.
Just a tall ask for a team that's clearly struggling both on the field and clearly just struggling to keep the spirits up. Hoping for the best. Would love to see Granville come and try and make some noise in the postseason, and always love a surprise or turnaround story. But I am not going to hold my breath at this point.
Yeah, no, this much like we've talked with Brother Rice, high school football is always better when Granville's really good. So it'd be nice to see them kind of break out of this, a little bit of a skid. And I think that team's still in there. Tank Terry wasn't, their entire defense. This is a team that's going to have to snap out of it. But I trust the coaching there. I think that program is stable enough. There's still a lot of belief in me, to I think they could still do something special, but yeah, the next 2 weeks will tell us a ton.
Yeah. Up next, we are on to number 4, Orchard Lake St. Mary. They're taking on number 49, Brother Rice. This is another great game for the Catholic League. Orchard Lake St. Mary coming in at 5-1 with their only loss to Detroit Catholic Central. And on the other side, Brother Rice, they're just hanging in our top 50, but they're showing that there's clearly some sort of there.
Yeah.
They are putting up a fight against these top level teams. They are looking confident, and they are not looking like the Brother Rice team that we have seen in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, this is just tremendous experience for the Brother Rice kids, especially some of those underclassmen that,
Mhm.
this is a really young nucleus that you know needs the reps and to sharpen your game against a team like Orchard Lake St. Mary's and sharpening against the Detroit Catholic Centrals and those kinds of guys. Yeah, that's what you want. You want to play against the best, and hopefully it makes you the best. So yeah, still a really important game. I expect Orchard Lake St. Mary's to kind of jump out and kind of maybe not dominate, but definitely handle business here.
Yeah, I'd expect this one to be close for maybe the first quarter, maybe even going into the half. But this is a team that eventually, I think, Orchard Lake St. Mary just has too much talent. That's going to win out. Brother Rice, a fun team, clearly a very chippy and feisty team, but sometimes you just come up against the buzzsaw. But echoing your sentiment, you have to play the best to be the best, and hopefully the coaches can really just milk all they can out of this opportunity.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron, and Orchard Lake St. Mary's is iron. So yeah, good reps against a really good team.
And moving on to our last ranked matchup, and that is the previously mentioned number 24 Brighton versus number 25 Howell. The Bulldogs here taking on the Highlanders in what is always a very fun clash.
Yeah, this is two really good teams, and I mean, on paper, number 24, number 25, this is as close of a game,
Mhm.
evenly matched as you can get. Um, yeah, this one I'm not sure exactly how it would work, because Northville is 5-1 in conference. Howell's 5-1 in conference. If Howell beats Brighton and Northville plays, I believe Novi, if they win, we got three-way tie at 5-1. I have no idea what the tiebreakers are. Someone might have to comment and let us know. But yeah, things could get interesting or messy. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun one. Two clashing styles. Um, Brighton, kind of runs little more of a traditional offense. Howell just loves that T, loves running the ball. We saw it hurt Belleville last year.
Yep.
We saw this, offense just it's hard to stop when it's executed correctly. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Brighton's going to have a an answer for it.
Yeah. And just thought I'd share this funny little tidbit. My metrics currently have both Brighton and Howell at 15.18 overall. This is about as evenly matched as you can get looking at our polls, looking at the metrics. These are very balanced teams, and this is going to be a very tough fight.
Yeah, yeah, two different philosophies. It's going to be fun to see what one kind of wins out. But yeah, crazy that that is legitimately like a 50-50 coin flip type of game. That is pretty wild.
Yeah, going to be a fun one. Moving on now to some of our other notable games, we have Ann Arbor Father Gabriel Richard taking on Macomb Lutheran North. And once more, this is for that spot in the Catholic High School League Prep Bowl next week.
Yeah, I think this one, I looked at your numbers a little bit earlier. Looks like they're both pretty even. I think Gabriel Richard has a little bit of the edge, but I think it'll still be really tightly contested. And one thing that numbers can't really measure is heart. We're gonna find out who wants it more. So, yeah, two really good teams. I think one of the two undefeated matchups going into this week. So, yeah, should be a really fun one.
Yeah, these are two fun squads to watch. Like you said, someone's coming out of this 8-0 and probably going to be sneaking into at least our polls.
Yeah, yeah, this is the de facto play-in spot for me. I think the winner of this definitely deserves a spot.
Yep, and my numbers definitely prefer Ann Arbor Father Gabriel Richard here, but you don't play the game on paper.
Yeah, yeah, I think it gave them the edge, but it still looks like they're pretty close at least. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see who can kind of you know pull it out when the lights are pretty bright.
Definitely. Up next, we've got Grand Haven taking on number 5 Hudsonville. This is a Grand Haven team that's going to be flying high after that huge, just getting that chip off the shoulder against Granville. Now they get to go into a Hudsonville team that has all the momentum and all the energy in the world, and a team that is really just looking to avoid a letdown game.
Yeah, I trust Coach Sandy to not let that happen, but it is notable. I mean, just the situation lines up. I mean, this is a Grand Haven team that is kind of just committed to playing spoiler right now. They seem happy to do it. They just took down Granville, first time they've done that in over 10 years. So they've got to be playing with about as much confidence as possible. Hudsonville comes down to the end. The nerves have got to be fried after that game, the ups and downs. Giving up a touchdown with 30 seconds left. Oh no, we just lost. And then, you know, Hail Mary, get it done. Oh, now we got to go back for the kick, and it's going to be 35 yards. Just an emotional roller coaster. So, yeah, they've got to, kind of calm themselves down, roll into this one a little bit, just ready to play their game. But I trust Coach Sandy to do just that.
Yeah, big ask for Coach Sandy because you're trying to get your guys to focus up after two huge emotional games against two of your top opponents, and then you come into here in one that you truthfully are just expecting to win, and trying to just get the guys, focused, get them motivated, and make sure that they know no game is given, and they have to go out there and earn it.
Yeah, the last couple weeks don't matter if go out and drop this one. So, yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but I think if anybody can do it, Coach Sandy and that program, as stable as they are right now, I fully expect them to be on top of it.
Yep, they should be able to roll through this one, but we will see. Up next, we've got Grand Rapids Northview taking on number 27 Grand Rapids Catholic Central. This Northview team hit a little bit of a skid, but they're a team that was floating around in our rankings earlier this year, and definitely not one that you can count out of really any game.
Yeah, I think this is a really solid team. A little bit bigger than Grand Rapids Catholic Central, but Catholic Central maybe the quietest GRCC team that I remember in a while. Just quietly sitting at 7-0 like they always do around this time of year. But they have the most playoff points in D5. Still, you know, Coach Colster, one of the best coaches in the state of Michigan. So it should be a fun kind of classic game between Grand Rapids area schools. I expect Northview to put up a valiant effort, though. I don't think this one will be a GRCC just rollover.
Yeah, this Grand Rapids Catholic Central team is definitely a darling by my metrics. They are the number 4 team in Division 5. Like you said, they've got a lot of playoff points. Uh, Currently, just a very quiet 7-0. You
Yeah.
wouldn't think that they're undefeated, just given the lack of buzz around them. But for a team like this, maybe that's a good thing. You can come in here without a lot of pressure, without a lot of eyes on you, and just keep taking care of business.
Yeah, that's exactly what it seems like they've been doing. It seems like they've just found a groove and have kind of hit their stride at the right time. This was a team last year that had some ups and downs. They had a young quarterback. It seems like he's taken that next step in his progression here, and you're kind of seeing the fruits of his labor.
Yeah. Moving on, we've got Fowler versus Ithaca. Fowler coming in off of that loss to Tuama, Westphalia. No shame there. I'm not sure who is going to be able to put a stop to PW at this point. And Ithaca managed to get their rebound win over Saginaw Nouvelle. Very solid team, very solid win, and just a good prove it game for Ithaca to show like, hey, you know what? Uh, it's okay. You can lose one game. You can lose the conference once every 16 years,
Yeah.
and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, no, I think this team is still as good as they get in these lower divisions. And I think Fowler's really good too. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see just how much Ithaca has, kind of figured themselves out with all these injuries that I know they've kind of been dealing with. So Fowler, another tough team to beat, and they can't look ahead. Ithaca's got Beale City next week as well. So going to be really interesting. But yeah, I love this, kind of grittiness that Ithaca's showing. They're used to just beating the hell out of teams, week after week. It's nice that they got to kind of grind some of these out. It's fun to kind of see that from them.
Yeah, very fun to watch Ithaca in some of these closer games and see really just the coaching and player development kind of put on display. It's very impressive to watch them go and blow teams out week after week, but getting to see a team that is able to pull it out at the tail end of games and just fight for the full 4 quarters
Yeah.
is more of a testament to the strength and the foundation of that program.
Yeah, you won't find many better than what, the Hesbrooks have built over there in Ithaca.
Up next, we've got number 19 Goodrich taking on Fenton.
Yeah, we got the crossover, the championship of the Stars and Stripes in the Flint Metro League. I think, just the way that Goodrich has been playing, I don't know how Fenton stops them. I mean, this is a team that just so dominant on the ground. Coach Allward's, just got this team playing as well as they've ever played, and they won a state title last year. So, yeah, I can't imagine that Fenton's gonna, pull one out, pull a rabbit out of the hat by any means. Maybe they'll put up a fight, but man, I'm just nothing against Fenton. I'm just incredibly high on the Martians right now.
Yeah, this Martians team is everything I was expecting in the preseason, just as far as talent goes. They
Yeah.
are absolutely loaded, one of the most talented teams in D4, and they are putting it on full display, especially on the offensive side of the ball. A team that my metrics love here. They've got them at the number 4 team in Division 4, and as one of the top teams with, I mean, let's be honest, one of the top teams with a chance to knock off Harper Woods and prevent them from steamrolling to a title.
Yeah, if you're asking me who can even hang with Harper Woods in Division Four. My mind immediately goes to Goodrich as the only team that can do it, just because of that ground attack that they've got. They might be able to control the ball a little bit. Um, I know it's kind of looking a little bit far ahead at a matchup that may or may not happen, but just as far as stopping Harper Woods from just steamrolling everyone in D4 and stinking up the show, Goodrich has to be the team to kind of step up and be that.
Yeah, Goodrich, a team that, we love this Martians offense, but looking at the numbers, they're a team that has been quietly led by their defense throughout the season. They have played some pretty solid offenses and just kept them in control throughout the whole season. And meanwhile, their offense has been really solid, but hasn't necessarily been tested. So, the way my numbers are looking at them, at least, they're a team that has proven quite a bit more on defense. But I don't know about you. I don't have a lot of doubts about the offensive side of the ball.
No, I think the statement was a couple weeks ago when Clio came in and they set records on them. An undefeated Clio team having the best season in program history. And frankly, Goodrich went out there and just stunk up the show, just waxed them. So, um, setting records against an undefeated team like that, that kind of seems like it was a statement. Um, yeah, so I have no worries about either side of the ball for these teams.
Yeah, moving on now, we've got number 34 Frankenmuth taking on Freeland, one of the classic rivalries that we see in the state, one that you and I actually just about every year like to, talk about. We get pretty excited around this one because, it's not that far from home. These are two teams that seem to be just top level every single season. And this season is no exception. Frankenmuth coming in with 6 straight wins. And on the other side, Freeland only has one loss on the season as well.
Yeah, this one I've always gotten a little bit excited about. I've actually been to this game twice. Um, Once at Freeland and once at Frankenmuth. I can tell you both communities get up for this game. This is a big one. I think it's because it always matters. It's a two teams that are always really good. Battling it out at the end of the season. So yeah, I still think that Frankenmuth is really good. They've got that one loss to Goodrich, which we just talked about how good
Yeah.
that team is. And they were able to beat Swan Valley in week two. Coming off that loss, kind of bounce back against a Swan Valley team that turns out is really, really good. And Freeland's only loss is to Swan Valley as well. So, other than that, they've been really solid. I think this should be an even matchup. I say that every year, and Frankenmuth goes out there and wins. So, um, hopefully, this is a really good one.
Yeah, this is one that I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on this week. And, just looking at Frankenmuth and the way their schedule seems to line up every year, starting the season with Goodrich and then having your penultimate game against Freeland. What a way to just sandwich your season in between two of the most fun rivalries in the state.
Yeah, yeah, that Frankenmuth and Goodrich game has become really fun. I got a chance to see them a couple years ago at the Big House, and that was a really fun one that Goodrich was able to pull out late. But yeah, just having a really good season. Both of these teams have some interesting talent. I know Frankenmuth's quarterback really good. Um, I believe Freeland's offensive tackle Tristan Comer committed to Michigan State, so plenty of talent in this one. Should be a lot of fun.
Moving on to our next game, we've got Ida versus Clinton. This is a pretty big game for the Southeast Michigan region.
Yeah, these are two teams that, we kind of almost forget about down in that region. But every year it seems like one of these teams comes out of that area and makes a deep playoff run. We've seen Clinton do it. We've seen Monroe St. Mary Catholic Central do it. Ida has been really good the last couple of years. So Ida's only loss is to Hudson in an 8-3 kind of grinded out battle. And Clinton also lost to Hudson, and then they also lost to Monroe St. Mary Catholic Central. So I think this is kind of one of those telltale games that we start to see who might be that one that kind of makes it out of that region.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Two teams that, like you said, they're smaller. Both teams with that loss to Hudson, which for one reason or another, my metrics seem to love. And I was actually pretty surprised when looking into some of the high school talent evaluations that Hudson has some legitimate talent over there. Not necessarily what you'd always expect from a school that that size in this region. Pretty impressive. So, really, both teams with a respectable loss there and a chance to notch that, marquee win here as we close out the season.
Yeah, and I also just think that Ida has one of the coolest mascots in the state with the blue streaks. I think that's sick as hell.
Yeah, it's not bad. And Michigan has some pretty good mascots around the state. Not a lot of states have teams like the Martians or Highlanders or,
Livers,
oh, yeah.
the
Yep. I
Flivers.
believe we've got a team somewhere in the state, the Doughboys,
Yeah, yeah. Persian.
Persian. Yep. We have some pretty unique
The
mascots.
hematites. The hematites
Hematite,
might be my
gotta love
favorite still
Ishpeming.
too.
All-time favorite of mine. Shout out Kenny, the UP. Uh,
Yes,
got to show some respect for the Hematites. Moving
absolutely.
on now to our last game, we have Monroe Jefferson taking on Monroe St. Mary Catholic Central. Once again, this is a game that has a lot on the line for it.
Yeah, another game down in that kind of same region that it also turns out is a huge game. Jefferson quietly 7-0, just been putting together a really good season. This was almost an undefeated game by itself. Monroe St. Mary Catholic Central dropped a close 14-13 game to Riverview last week. So not quite the undefeated matchup, but I still think this one's a really big one. Um, St. Mary Catholic Central obviously was at Ford Field last year. This is a team with a ton of talent that definitely hungry to get back. They're not thrilled with the way things ended against Millington, kind of getting dominated in the second half. So that one probably stings, feels like it got away from them. So I imagine this is a really hungry team.
Yeah, a team that is just dying to get back there and rectify some of those mistakes from last season. And really, this right here is a great place to start.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. These are two teams that I did not expect to be having a 7-0 versus 6-1 game. I honestly I did not maybe respect Monroe Jefferson enough. Their last winning season was 2016. And since then, coming into the season, they were 11-59, and that consisted of an 18 game losing streak in the middle of it. So this is a like really, really good season for them. So I'm sure they're going to want to capitalize on that, finish the job at 9-0 and head into the playoffs ready to go. But St. Mary Catholic Central standing in the way.
Yeah, these two teams, even though they're a couple divisions apart, once again, just going back to my metrics here, they've currently got Monroe Jefferson at 14.97 and Monroe St. Mary Catholic Central at 14.88, which both of these being out of 20 puts them as very solid squads, just regardless of what division they're in. And it should be another pretty close one.
Yeah, I like this game. The more I looked into it, the more impressed I was. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I love the St. Mary Catholic Central team. I'm just a big believer in they're not satisfied with the way last year ended. That game was really tight at halftime and kind of got away from them. So they've got to be about as motivated of a team as anyone. And Monroe Jefferson playing out of their minds. Um, Having a program kind of year, they're going to want to keep that going.
Yeah, a lot on the line for both of these squads, a lot to play for. But
Yeah.
that is going to wrap it up for our game previews for the week. And before we go, we are going to give our selections for the upsets of the week. Tyler, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth. I waffled on this quite a bit. I'm going to go with a little bit of surprise. I'm going to change course here. I'm going to go with Freeland to nab Frankenmuth.
Mm, you stole that one for me.
Did I? I
You know,
I
you did.
listen, there was a part of me that wanted to go a couple other directions. Um, I know I had mentioned like Roseville beating Romeo. That was one
Hmm.
that I had kind of thought about. But I just there's something about this Freeland team. Um, last couple years they've had some hype around them, and it really didn't live up to it. In this game, it just feels like this one's a little bit more quiet, a little bit more business like for them. I really like Freeland.
Well, note to self: last time I let you pick before me.
Yes. Yeah,
You
don't
had
ever let me do
you
that.
yeah, you had told me earlier today you were taking Roseville, and I thought, all right, good. That gives me Freeland. I feel pretty confident about that one having just a really good shot at being a tight game. And
I
in
know.
a tight game that's a rivalry, anything can happen. I think it's much more of a coin flip game than it looks. But seeing
Team
as
ride.
you
We could just team ride it.
no, no, you stole that one out from under me. So I am going to go ahead and look over at the Grand Rapids Northview, Grand Rapids Catholic Central matchup. I'm a big fan of this Northview squad. They hit a little bit of a skid, but this right here is a really big game for them. Big game that they can just come back and rectify things, right the ship, and prove it against a, again, very quietly unbeaten GRCC squad.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick at all. I think these are two really well coached teams. I think that they're going to keep it close, and you keep it close, you can have a shot at the end.
All right. Well, I like our picks. Go Frankenmuth. And that will do it for us this week. We will be back next week with our recaps and previews for week 9, the final week of the regular season.
Yes, sir. I can't believe it's here already.
Flies by way too fast.